Welcome. Join us on Facebook at the Ladies Room Podcast.
She wasn't trying to disrespect him, but she was just trying to get an understanding of the way he thinks. And that's a valid question. Like, where's your parents from? Because that tells a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what?
Let me go ahead and play this. I'm sorry. One second. I'm going to go ahead and play it.
The courthouse. It just would not have a job at a courthouse. It just would not walk around unintelligent.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I think that's the wrong one. Lord.
Yeah, that's gotten from a different part later.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't understand how he can say women's hands are made for mops, but then get offended when somebody asks where he's from. It just, the math is not mathing. You can't be a provocative person and then get upset when people.
That's my whole point. Like, these men say whatever they want about women, and as soon as a woman say anything, they get like so disturbed. Like that's kind of like softness to me. I don't understand this soft breed of men right now.
Now, I will say this as well. What we need to hold the men accountable in these spaces. However, the thing that shocked me the most when he came on my platform, the night that I had the women on, all black women on my show, and they had the conversation, and I had people call in. He was one of them. And he said the very same thing. He said women's hands were made for mops. Now, the women on the panel, about 2 of them out of the 6 were like, hey, dude, you crazy. The other women, out of disbelief, agreed with him.
Yeah.
And so I looked over at the chat, and I'm watching the chat, and the chat was like, yes, chaotic. Yes, you telling the truth. Yes, preach chaotic. I'm like, wait a minute. I said, I know these not women. I said, hold on. There can't be women. And it was women just agreeing with everything chaotic said. Yes, you may not like the way he said, but it's true. Women need to get on their post. Women need to do what they need to do. And these are women. I'm not seeing the men. I was like, the women are just pounding it out. And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it.
Well, I have an interesting take on that. I personally, now I don't believe the whole mock thing, whatever. I'm not entertaining that. I do believe that women should, in the home, that is part of our responsibility. Personally, that's what I embrace anyway. I think every woman has to decide what's right for her, because not every woman's like a domestic woman or traditional or whatever. So that's fine. But what I would say is that a woman should be, like he talked about her being catering and nurturing and cooking for a man and making sure he's, well fed and the house is clean. I loved all of that. But what I would have said if I was on that panel, I would have said a woman should be all of those things and steer clear of a man like you. And I'm going to show you a video of this and we'll break it up some more. But
yeah, I was about to say, I thought we was going to do that video too, but yeah.
We going to do it. Hold on. All right.
Before you start this one, is this the beginning of it when she first came in?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah. So I want us to pay attention to how we interpret things versus how they really occur, because the way it keeps getting repeated back is not what happened. So let's like really watch the exchange, like really, without our feelings in it.
All right, I think this is it.
It's disingenuous.
You would not walk down a back alley with 2 Negroes. You would not walk.
Oh my God, that's not it. Oh my God, hold on, y'all.
I think it's like the one right before that one. Let me see.
Okay, wait, it's this one.
I'm so tired of answering that question.
So she just asked if where her parents are, where his parents.
And this is when she first came in. Okay, she didn't say anything to him before that. All she asked him was, she asked his name, and she said, "May I ask where your parents are from?" That's all this woman has said to this man at this point.
Exactly.
That's a private question. I'm so tired of answering that question, because what
does
it matter?
Why are you tired of answering it? I've asked it to you one time.
I'm tired of everybody asking me that question. What does that question mean anyway?
It means a lot. Okay, I'm just simply asking, what is your background? I don't understand.
Okay, they're from Japan. Okay, now, what's the next question?
Okay, so if your parents are from Japan,
they're not from Japan, but go ahead. If they were, what's the question?
Why are you defensive? And I've asked you one question.
Because I get that question so many times on Black panels.
Why do you think that Black people ask you that question?
I have no idea why. You know what? This is what I love about white people. They don't infringe upon my rights. I'm going to
interrupt you right there.
So I found a problem with that alone, because he goes, well, I only get this question on Black panels, and
this is what I love about white.
Asked him, she's like, well, why do you think you get that question? And then he goes, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you
just showed us why he
be
get that
quiet?
question?
He knows.
Why don't you be quiet and try to understand it? But he's getting real sensitive about it, and you guys know why, because it's going to negate his presence in this conversation, basically, and he doesn't like that. So he's going to continue to go and rant.
I know, because that's what Black people do.
One thing that I do know is that your parents are definitely not from America. So,
but I'm so tired of answering that question.
Oh man, that wasn't the whole part. So let me see. I think this is the part.
So while you're finding that,
if you
look at Logic, and look at Chicago Rilla. When she asked him where he's from, they turned their cameras off and started laughing because they know why she's asking him that question. And Logic's so crazy, but they know why, and that's why they're laughing so hard. When you look at the men on the panel, they're laughing. They're laughing hard because they know he acts like everybody around YouTube call him the white boy.
That's the problem with me. He's allowed to be a caricature across all these Black platforms, and nobody checks anything. Not the men. He came on our platform. I don't remember giving him any energy. It was kind of old and tired, but he does this all the time. Why hasn't he been checked? And not by the feminine women, surely.
Yeah,
he was saying some
checked.
crazy stuff.
Yeah,
he wasn't going in like he wasn't.
No, he didn't do nearly what he did on this show. I'm saying if he's been bouncing from platform to platform, being a caricature, why haven't any masculine men stay at anything?
So let me say this: running for entertainment,
right? So he came on my platform. And I want you guys to go watch it. He came on my platform
at the expense of Black women. It's tired.
And he got checked. He got checked. And not only did he get checked on my platform, he also got checked on Security Boss. If y'all familiar with Security Boss, he was on her channel about 3 days ago, and she directly checked him directly to his face. So she checked him. He also got checked by me.
You know what that noise is?
Yes, that's somebody's cell phone's ringing.
Somebody's phone.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so go watch on my channel. Go to the one that's the conversation about the Black woman, talking about the Black woman with Black women, and go to the end where we had callers come in. We checked them.
I'm sorry. The thing is not about checking them. It's who's checking them. The women is checking them. The men sat there and just let him do what he's going to do
on this platform. Yeah.
On that platform, and I thank you, Unfiltered. What should I call you, Black man?
Black man, whatever. I've been called. Yeah.
I didn't see that video, but I appreciate if you did that. And I will say I did watch a little bit more of this video, and Rilla did actually check Chaotic Truth. He did, and I love Black men who will do that. I absolutely love it. Now, there have been many times on this show where that type of behavior has gone unchecked. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these guys get on this show, because they know they can do that in that space consistently, because it consistently happens. I know that Rilla did check the guy, and unfortunately, that's rare though. It's rare, and then when it happens, a lot of men, like Rilla, and probably yourself, I don't know if you've experienced this, but they'll call you a simp, And so there's that it's almost like bullying, trying to get men who would stand up and be men and protect women against men who are irrational and out of place and disrespectful, to try to get them to shut up, But here's the video. I want to play it. I'm sorry, everybody. I had the wrong clip up.
But you have it, and before you play it, I just wanted to point out one thing though about what he was saying about that she asked him that or people asked him that because they feel like he acts white or whatever. That's not the reason why she asked him that question. She asked him that question because he was talking about Black Americans, right? And he has a different background as an immigrant coming here versus someone who has been here generationally. That's why, not him acting white. So that was the reason why she asked that question. I just wanted to point that out.
Exactly. And they can never really get to that point because of he was just exploding. But here it is for those of you who didn't see it.
Go on Black panels, they ask you a fucking question and you can't give the answer. This is a problem in the Black community. The only people who restrict my freedom
you said you were Carlton Banks.
It's not white
Carlton
people.
Banks.
It's not Asian people.
You need to calm down.
People, particularly black women.
Your pocket protector is in a bunch.
You niggas commit a lot of crimes and you know it. You are
your
single mothers and you know it.
suspenders are tight.
You wouldn't park your car in the hood and keep that door unlocked because you know a nigga will take the damn car.
I'm not gonna put you in a locker. I know you have PTSD.
You gotta go on mute.
I'm not gonna take your lunch money, and your pocket protector is in a
pretending
his childhood trauma just made an appearance.
Carlton, I don't know what happened to you as a kid, but you are safe here. Nobody is going to say the point.
Okay. All right. And so he exploded.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But this is what stereotypes and generalizations.
Can I just say this? Yeah. As a therapist, that was just painful to watch. I don't even think right now, it ain't even about masculinity and femininity. We got some people on certain panels, they don't want to admit it. They lack emotional intelligence. They lack communication skills. And one good sign of emotional intelligence is your ability to understand the thoughts and feelings of other people. It has nothing to do with being a combative black woman.
When you don't, or to recognize when you don't. And it's just, it's really sad. And
it is.
I wish that she could have explained a little bit more about her stance, why she asked that question. And let's say, because my thinking is that, and this is going to lead us into our other question, but there are people who live here, right? And they may have been here for a long time and they've assimilated into our culture, but they do not carry the burdens that we carry. And they have a whole lot to say. And what I find about people like him is that they have been here for a long time. And some of them have gained citizenship. They work here. They go to school here. They have contributed to our society in certain ways, and that's commendable. But they separate themselves from the negative parts. They want to take on the good parts of being in this community. But when you start talking about the negative things, the shortcomings, the bad stuff, the crime, all of this, then it's like, oh, you black folks over there, And so people like him really don't have a place in these conversations. And on this same network, we had another outsider, so to speak, Amira, who came on. And, they held her up on a pedestal, right? And her sole purpose was to tell the Black women how they need to treat their man and how they got it wrong and how y'all need to go back to tradition.
How did that make y'all feel? Seriously, when y'all heard her do that.
It made me feel like it was manipulation because she didn't want to talk about the FGM, child marriages, or the extraneous famine going on in her own country. Don't come over here, driving on our paved roads. There's so much to say.
But I wasn't mad at her. I wasn't even mad at them, but I was disappointed in them. And it made me feel like, yet again, here we have our brothers who are not coming to us like they say we need to come to them, being genuine.
Yeah, for me, it didn't make me feel like, oh, this is happening. For me, it was just a continuation of, I guess I did not realize. See, I feel like as Black Americans, we have like this journey depending on how we were raised and what we learned and how woke we are, in regards to the system. And I feel like a lot of us start at like white supremacy and we're like, oh my God, this is unfair. These white people are like, look at these races. Oh, this is Stormfront, KKK. What's going on? I did not realize how much anti-Blackness we had instilled in ourselves and in our own communities until I showed up in a lot of these spaces. And that's what stuck out to me. It wasn't a feeling like, oh, this woman is, it was just like, wow, we really don't like ourselves. And the thing is that what I wanted to say in regards to why it matters what Chaotic's experience is because when he sits there and says, you niggas, this, that, who is he talking to? It's not
the
like
language.
That wasn't like my nigga. That was like a you niggers. There's a difference.
He's separating himself once again.
Kinfolk, period. Like you just
right. And yeah, you're right. I agree with that. I don't like that either. When we're all even when I watched a panel the other night and they were on there arguing for 45 minutes about who Black and who's not, and everybody on the panel was Black. And I'm like,
horrible. Horrible.
I don't understand it. You're not you. I don't know, but it all goes back for me because I'm a huge history buff. Majored in that. For me, I think it's all goes back to the crab in the barrel mentality. I think that when you raise a people to do a certain thing and they don't get help for that certain thing continues to go on. To Mrs. To you, I don't want to say your name wrong. Jovo.
Yes.
Okay.
This is Jovo or Jovo.
Jovo, see, you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this, right?
I
so the
do.
crab in the barrel mentality with Willie Lynn said, listen, all you got to do, you don't have to put no fences around the plantation. You put it up here. And you take the lighter colored slaves, you put them in the house, you treat them well, let them use your soap, let them smell good, let them look good, give them a suit, then have them walk amongst all their brothers and sisters in the field. And then when they're going to start resenting each other, and then when they start resenting each other, they're going to fight, they're going to kill each other, and we don't have to do nothing. We can sit back and enjoy the show. They won't worry about escaping, they'll worry about killing each other.
Slavery was about money, but it was also about psychological warfare on people of color. And I have said this on this show before. It's all up here. So now, guess what the new slavery is? The new slavery is I'm going to become a slave to my ego and parts of my personality that feed that ego. Okay, because I'm so woke. My wokeness has made me a slave to my ego.
Right, and as it passed down from generation, like if my grandmother passed down to my mom passed down to me, then we evolve it, and then I pass down to my children, and it evolves a little bit more, and then you get a reflection of what you see on the panels.
Yes, and but look at the evolution, because now think about it. Now we're in a place in society where it's no longer socially acceptable for white people to be explicitly racist against Black people. Like that's no longer socially acceptable. And like I say, what's insane to me is like we have taken on all of those conversations, those stereotypical conversations, the way that like I say, the KKK, if you go to Stormfront and you go to all these places in a way like they don't even really talk like that no more today. It's like we're talking like that. We're like, and niggers is like this, and they're killing each other and their baby mamas. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like we have become racist.
It's horrible.
They're not using it anymore. You're absolutely correct. Because now what they're doing is they have evolved as well. So you got to understand your oppressor ain't gonna stay the same. The people that want you gone, they're not going to stay the same. So now we don't have to have no robes anymore. We got to rail up no horses and burn no crosses in our yard.
It's
run for mayor, run for Congress.
Yeah, it's conservatism.
Run for chief of police.
The weapon has never changed. The weapon has never changed. It's always been our psyche. It's always been psychological.
It's just the fact that we're so miseducated. I'm not going to say uneducated. I'm going to say miseducated.
Absolutely.
The fact that we're so miseducated that we have lost all of that background, and all we're seeing is the talking points, and we've accepted it. And we're like, yeah, Black people are derelicts. Yeah, Black people are. It's like, what? Yeah. It's like instead of us actually paying attention to the systemic issues and understanding what's happening, we've now accepted that we're defective, that we are defective, and that we are the problem. Like,
and we have to understand everybody ain't gonna go, because as you know, Nat Turner went on a rage. He took out 75 of his oppressors in one day, and it took one Black person to go tell Master. He missed Master so much. Master, I left. I'm sorry, but I can tell you where to get him at and where to take him out at. Right? Yeah. And so
I can't stand these niggas.
Right. And you know what? Everybody can't go. Yeah. Everybody can't be a part of that community. You have some people, and a lot of people drugged me the other day. What's the new judge they just put in office? I mean, in the Supreme Court?
Ketanji Brown.
But yeah, Ketanji, everybody cheering on, but ain't anybody looking at her record, right? She got these people that mess with children. I ain't gonna say it because that'll put a strike on your channel, guys. Don't never let nobody use that P word on your channel. But the people that mess with the kids, she's giving them 10 months in jail, 12 months in jail for brutalizing infants and babies. Why? You know, who told you that? But the white judges are putting the Black men in jail that are doing it for 50 years. And you a Black woman on the court putting men in jail, white men, giving them 12 months, 18 months, 24 months in prison.
And that's why I tell Black people in the South to vote. That right there.
Yeah. But I want to move us back to that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, that was good stuff. Good stuff. And it actually is going to kind of segue us into one of our other topics. But I I was very disturbed about his demeanor. He's a man that considers himself a Christian. Later on in the video, he talks about, how he quotes the Bible. He calls himself a gentleman. He was on our show talking to us about femininity and how to be a woman. And then we get this. And this is common. And I'm not trying to bash brothers, because this is not the case with all men, right? And it's not the case with all Black men. I've been very fortunate to be around strong men who can correct women, but also be respectful to women, handle things respectfully, So, I'm not saying it's about all men, okay? And not all Black men, but in these spaces, it is very prominent, and it's very disturbing, because people will look at this, and I saw the chat, the comments from this video, and the men were happy about this, and they were calling Rilla a simp for speaking up, and then later on, because Logic actually told him to calm down.
Yep, he did.
He called Logic. He said, "You simping for all these women," and it's just really unfortunate, because we talk about protecting Black women, and we talk about femininity of Black women, and and this just happened in our group. A Black man got all upset with me because I brought this issue up, but it's like, it's not to be ignored that we continually come into spaces where we can be feminine. We got to defend ourselves against men when other men should be doing that, or when the man shouldn't even be treating us in such a way. You know what I mean? Like, he was just foul. He was completely foul, and there was no reason for that. And there's like this push or this bullying to get other men to stop doing,
Actually, it's hard to provide protection to anybody else when you don't even know who you are. Nobody can ask you questions about who you are. Do you see how he blew up with these questions? Like, he got straight ignorant on YouTube.
He already said he ain't about to be protecting no women because he ain't big enough. Y'all remember what he said.
It's very, very hard to protect someone when you're not even secure in your own identity. You don't even know how to protect your own self.
Right.
You don't even know how to develop a response. You just, in these spaces, and I just want to say this: if they practice building self-identity, if they practice, effective communication, like they dwell on correcting Black women, we probably get somewhere with the conversation with a lot of them on the platform. But a lot of them are just motivated to correct us. But then you don't even know who you are, and you lack self-identity, or you lack the ability to communicate who you are. It was just painful to watch.
Now, can I ask this question to the women on the planet right now? How do you guys feel? I had to write it down. How do you guys feel about the women in these spaces that agree with this and having shows about this, promoting this as a good thing? Right? Like, you have women like Crimson. Come on. They're saying that
I think it's a lucrative field, and if they put the bag over.
So I think that's like, you can internalize racism, you can internalize misogynoir as well. So
you can commoditize it too.
And a lot of women are making videos. Like I said, I saw one that was broke down, and the entire time she was saying in the video, I agree with him. You may not like what he's saying, but he's telling the truth. Black women need to do this. Black women need to do this. Black women need to do this. And then you go to the next female channel with Crimson, and she's saying the same thing. This is why Black women can't have a man. They don't know when to be quiet. They don't know when to go into spaces that's for them, not for them. So you have a lot of women making the same content, and probably more than the men.
I think that it's big business now.
Yeah. Exactly. Look how much money Kevin Samuels made.
Black women back in their place.
A lot.
And I'll say, like, they know here, I'm probably a little more traditional myself, but I think the problem with shows like Crimson and some of these other ones are, like, they talk about women's role, but they don't talk about that other half. That's, that I can't, how you can be as submissive as you want, but you have to have a man to submit to. And I think a lot of these women just come to they are women themselves who may have been like the type that's like, look, I just got a man. As long as I got a man.
Or don't even have one. I think, like, I really like that question. And I'm gonna, and I have to say that misunderstandings point, there is some of it that's just like, oh, well, this is where the money is, because there is money in bashing Black women. It just is, like, for whatever reason. But the other part of it is, I think that, and I know this from personal experience, from behind the scenes with some of these women and their personal relationships, they have internalized these messages, and they believe that if they could just be better, and if they could just do better, then they could get these men. Like they even like blaming other women. You know what I mean? Like they to be like, only these women weren't like this, then men wouldn't treat us this way, and it's all y'all fault. It's like it's
a lot of women.
From my experience,
you know,
from my experience by talking to women, I hear a lot of women saying, like, even Ashley, when you speak, like how you wouldn't mind being like the traditional woman, and you know, and you agree with some of the things that they say. It's cool, but it just sounds better than what it really is, because most of the time when these men say this, it's coming from a place of control, and it's not coming from a place of can we cohabitate together while you're doing this. They don't want you to just stay home and cook and clean and do all these things because they think that's going to be a good dynamic for the house. They want you to just be at home so they can do whatever they want, so they can control you with their money. That's where it's coming from. It's not like because most of the time
them little boys doing it. Real men that will, because I know a few of them. Their wives sit at home and they go home every day. They bring the money home, and they they good.
We all know a few of them, but we know millions of men.
Yeah.
So we know a few of them
that
really is about their life.
Yeah. Right.
But we also know that the majority of the men, even myself, we have some type of problem with our masculinity and what we allow in our home and how we want to control things, right? And most men, even women, when they say these things and they start living their life, they be ready to go. They be like, I want to be a stay-at-home wife and this and that. Then a year later into it, they have to go with it. So I know it sounds good, but by just talking to a lot of women, they say these things when they get involved with those type of men. It's like, oh nah, because if you want that type of man, you have to take what it comes with. You know what I'm saying? And it don't just come with. He's not coming home like, oh, I appreciate these washed dishes. Oh, the kids are tucked in. Oh, this that. Oh no, that's not how it's happening. That's not how it's happening. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, Darwin. I see that in a lot of these men in these spaces. That's why it really gets on my nerves, because it's like they're feeding a lot of poison. Because you know the saying, a broken clock can be right twice a day or something like that.
Right.
Like they can say a little bit of truth, but there's a whole lot of just misinformation and untruths and a lot of toxic ideas going on. So that's why I think it's very problematic, and that's why it's important to address these things, because there are women and there are other men and young boys listening to this thinking that this is the way, when there are a lot of narcissistic men or men who in some way outside of their relationships feel inept, and they have these certain ideologies, but like I was saying, they kind of understand the woman's role, but they don't understand their role. Because
when I grew up, I grew up in the South. I don't know if anybody from the South. I grew up in Louisiana, right? And in Louisiana, we weren't taught to treat the women any kind of way, but we were taught back in the day, when I was growing up under the tree with the uncles, when you were 10, 11, this is what you heard. You not a man, you a punk. If your wife have to go out and pay bills. If your wife have to pay bills, you ain't no man.
I'm just saying,
right? If your wife have to pay a car note, she have to pay insurance, you ain't no man. Those men used to tell you, your wife paid what? Oh, y'all, you ain't no man.
So to me, I think a man that's making less than $60,000 can't even talk about that traditional shit.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. Your wife can't afford to stay at home.
Right.
Because you can't afford to pay all the bills making $30,000. So you can't talk about traditional stuff, and that woman would be a fool to even follow you with their traditional outlook on how they're going to live, right? Because you have to have some type of logic too. You know,
it's a front. It's a front. It's a front, because it's so many of them in these spaces. They got low self-esteem. What's the number one definition of low self-esteem? The heavy self-criticism.
Catch us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.